$1,500? No matter how much you spend on your executive resume, nothing will impact your chances for landing that next big role than how you feel about yourself. Hi, my name is Shawn Sommerkamp, and this is Motivationeer Christian Coaching. A well-established CEO called me for some executive coaching, and after speaking with him for a little bit, it turned out that he had been the CEO over a very large healthcare consortium for north of 20 years. I think it even might have been something like 30. A new chairman of the board was hired, and as usually does, that new chair summarily, systematically fired all of the executive staff. So now my new CEO friend was suddenly jobless. After hearing his story, I was completely confident that I could help him find his next big career move. And of course, I told him as such, to which he replied quite emphatically, "Not only am I not going to get a job in the next few months, I don't think I'm ever going to get another job again." Now, we all have the tendency to feel negative, especially after getting released from a job that we loved or a high-level position. We all go through that, everybody. But I wanted to know specifically how he personally arrived at that conclusion for him. So I asked him. Very briefly, he said, "Because now everyone will know that I'm a fraud." He was convinced he had been found out. Everyone would now see him for what he really is, a phony. And of course, phonies don't get jobs, right? Well, we know this mindset as imposter syndrome. I've experienced it. I'm sure I would bet that you have too, because it happens, ironically, with successful professionals. That's who it mostly happens with. In the face of much evidence to the contrary, we sometimes somehow get to the point where we don't believe we deserve what we've achieved. Yes, even Christians who know that God supplies us with all things that we have, we still struggle with this phenomenon. We get to the point where we credit our professional success with blind luck, or because of the ignorance of the company that hired us. They just don't really know who they have working for them. This concept was introduced in 1978 in the article The Imposter Syndrome in High-Achieving Women, Dynamics and Therapeutic Intervention by Drs. Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. Their research originally focused on high-achieving women, but since then we know that this happens indiscriminately to high-achieving women and men alike. Side note, if you go to Dr. Clance's website, paulineroseclance.com, you can take her assessment, which she calls the Clance IP scale. The link is down below in the description. So back to our CEO friend. Although discouraged about his future prospects, obviously, he did then have kind of a lift in energy and said, "At least I have a $1,500 resume." Because he just paid $1,500 to a professional to, do a complete resume makeover, an ironclad resume in his mind that was sure to get him in the best light so he could land that next big job. He proclaimed this with such boldness, I realized he was putting way too much stock in that resume landing things for him. So I asked him if he would send me this glorious creation, and he obliged. When I got it, I could hardly believe my eyes. I had been in the staffing business years ago for quite a few years, 5 or 6 years, and over that time had kind of pieced together elements of great-looking resumes to come up with what I referred to as the gold standard resume template. And now, all these years later, I'm looking at the one that he just sent me, and it's almost identical to the one that I had been using for the last 15 years, which, by the way, if you reach out to me, send me an email, go to my website, hit the contact button, I will send you my gold standard resume template for nothing. I give it away to everybody. Seeing this, however, I was excited because, hey, I kind of came up with this on my own, but also wary because of how much trust he was putting in this as a vehicle for his big opportunities. If we're going to spend $1,500 on something, we want to spend it on something other than a resume. We want to spend it focusing on what really matters, changing how we view ourselves. One of my all-time favorite passages is Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 20. "Do not revile the king, even in your thoughts, or curse the rich in your bedroom, lest a bird of the air carry your words, a bird on the wing report what you say." Is this passage telling us that there are mind-reading birds that flutter around outside of our window, eavesdropping on our thoughts, and then flying off to the object of our attention and speaking in a human language and letting them know that we're thinking bad about them, although it sounds like that's what it's saying, which is where we got the euphemism, "a little bird told me," by the way. That's not what it's saying. In brief, metaphorically, it's saying we can't hide what we are thinking about. No matter how hard we try, we're not going to be able to conceal it from others. And if you're down on yourself, when you're sitting there in the interview process, you're going to communicate that loud and clear to those interviewing you. Whether it's the darting of your eyes, not making eye contact, speaking too quickly, speaking too soft, sitting there with our hands folded, looking down at the ground, sweating a little bit, pausing too much, our eyes getting bulgy. There's all kinds of nonverbal ways that we communicate this. So what if you get a bunch of interviews because you have a great resume? What are you going to do now? You're sitting in front of the interviewers thinking very poorly about yourself. It's not going to help you land that job. What we want to do instead is to be confident about who we are. And as Christians, we know, be confident about whose we are. Let's trust that God has a plan for us, and He wants us to be diligent about pursuing the outcome of that plan. We don't just sit there and say a prayer and hope that magic happens. It doesn't work like that. God didn't teach us that. In fact, Jesus in Matthew 7, which I have a complete other video on my channel about this, ask, seek, and knock. It is iterative. It doesn't mean pray harder still. Go watch that video. It's getting quite a few views. I did it quite a few years ago, so the format looks kind of cheesy, but the content is still there. We want to be diligent, and being confident about what we have to offer, whose we are, will help us with this diligence. There's a TED Talk that I recommend, I think, to every client I've ever had. My business started in October 2012, and this woman, Amy Cuddy, did this TED Talk in June of 2012, I think it was. And the title of it is, "Your Body Language May Shape Who You Are." In essence, it's about how body language affects how others see us and may change, believe it or not, how we see ourselves. With over 55 million views, she puts a lot of effort into explaining the science behind how she arrived at this breakthrough. Yes, there is a little bit of controversy. When you go there, you can read some of the comments, but she wrote this whole thing and posted it on LinkedIn, statistically verifying her findings, and I have found it to be incredibly useful and powerful for me, and as I let my clients recommend my clients watch it. You made it this far in your career for a reason. It's not because you just slipped through the cracks and got under the wire and haven't been found out yet. It's because you have gifts given to you by God and a ton of great experience that is very valuable in the marketplace. When we only apply to 1 or 2 jobs at a time, certainly when we spend a lot of time thinking about how much of a fake or a phony we are, we're not going to appreciate really the abundance that's available to us. John 10:10 says, "The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it abundantly." There is an abundance of opportunities in the marketplace, globally, certainly in the US marketplace. What we want to do is have the confidence in God's plan and whose we are and what we have to offer the marketplace of value, and go and be diligent. And amazing things are going to happen. So much so it's going to increase our faith because we are putting our trust in God first and foremost. Invest the time gaining the confidence in yourself and in God so you can land that next big job that you deeply desire, and in a salary range that you can use that income and help many, many, many more people. Stop wasting money on resumes. Invest it in getting a confidence inside of you that's based on God to go do great things in the marketplace for Him. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for 2 new videos each week. Tell me in the comments below about your career situation, and I'll make a video for you with a shout out. You can also become a member at motivationeer.com. Your career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world.